Hey everybody, welcome to the Bugout channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a Micarta handle for a Condor Woodlaw blade blank. Now, if you want to get this blade, there's going to be a link down below in the description. Now, before we begin, because we're going to be dealing with fiberglass dust, it's important to wear a mask, glasses, and have gloves and tape available so you don't cut yourself. Now, to begin with, what you're going to do is you're going to take your canvas strips and you're going to cut them down to the size of a little bit less than a 2x4. And I'm going to talk a little bit here in a second about how to make the 2x4 press. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to take about 14 strips of canvas, cut it down to the appropriate size, which is about 3.5 by 8. You're going to stack them in order so you can use different colors, like here I use black. And what you're going to do then is after you have them stacked, you're going to tape down a piece of waxed paper. And basically what this is going to do is keep you from making a mess. And you're going to have a bottle of water, and that's where you're going to put your fiberglass resin into. You can get fiberglass resin at Home Depot. And what I do is I normally fill this to about 2/3 of the bottle. And what you're going to do then is you're going to take the hardener, and I usually put, for 2/3 of a bottle, a little less, I put about 35 drops of hardener in it. And at this point, you just mix it around a little bit with your hands, make sure you have your gloves on. This is the part where you get to make a mess. So what you're going to do is just smear it on your wax paper, and this is going to keep your piece of canvas stationary. And now from this point, what you're going to do is you're going to, using your hand, you're going to soak each piece of canvas with the fiberglass resin. I usually use about 14 strips, but do this for all 14 or however many you want. This is fairly inexpensive, so test and see what works for you. At this point, what you're going to do is you're going to take your wax paper and you're going to wrap it. Basically what this does is it makes it more easy to take it out of the press later on. It's going to harden inside the press and be nice and flat for your handle. So a press is basically a 2x4 cut into a couple pieces and then another piece of 2x4 on top to use as the top press. And I just took some fence wood and I put it on the sides to keep everything in place and just use some quick clamps. So what I also do is keep a piece of wax paper underneath the press. That's so you don't make a mess. And do your best not to rip your gloves like me because you don't want to get the stuff on your hands. After a day or so, you just go ahead and pull your hardened canvas out of the press, and this is what it'll look like. Next is the blade blank. So this is the Condor Woodlaw blade blank. I love these. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to cut the blank however you want it to look. And make sure you tape the blade so you don't nick it or cut yourself. And at this point what you're going to do is go ahead and trace the outline of the blade onto the canvas. I use a pencil, it works for me, so if you make a mistake, you can erase it. Really, this is just so you know where to cut. And next I'm going to go ahead and put this on a bandsaw, but you can go ahead and do it by hand as well. The bandsaw saves from too much dust getting up into the air, and you might accidentally get in your lungs. But go ahead and just take your bandsaw and cut as closely as possible to the size of the handles. And this is going to save some time for sanding later on. Just make sure if you're using a bandsaw to be safe. And then what I do is I mark, once I have them set, I go ahead and mark what side I want each handle to go on the blade. Next, you're going to line them up with your blade, and I use a drill press for straighter holes, and clamp the blade to the handles and go ahead and drill all 3 holes. Then what you're going to do is take your drill and make the holes just a little bit bigger. What this is going to do is create an extra bit of space between your pin and the micarta handle, and it's going to make your handles overall much stronger. It's also going to help keep the pins in place. So then what I do is I just kind of sand it to kind of flatten it out a little bit. And you can use a belt sander as well. Next, I take my pin, which is a 1/4 inch pin, and I line it up and just make sure everything sits evenly and correctly. What you're seeing here really is just all the pieces that we have up until this point. I've cut 3 pieces of aluminum pin, and it looks like we're about ready to move on. In this video I'm experimenting with aluminum, however I'd recommend you use steel in your project. Next up, what you do is you take your Gorilla Glue epoxy, or whatever kind of epoxy you prefer, and just go ahead and stir it up with a piece of wood or anything you can find that you just go ahead and throw away later, and you're just going to stir it until it kind of turns a pasty white. At this point what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and coat each side of the handle with the epoxy, and make sure you get the epoxy inside of the holes for the pins as well. This is going to help keep the pins in place. And then what I like to do is actually put the pins into one side of the handle first, and you're going to put one handle on, and then what you do is you go ahead and take the other handle, and you'll very carefully slide them together. Sometimes it's not quite so easy. You have to use a little bit of force. Once it's on, go ahead and take a couple quick clamps, and you're going to clamp these together. And there you go. After it's been sitting for, I don't know, 2 to 3 hours or longer, go ahead and start to sand, and you're going to sand to your preference. I just use a belt sander and go to town, and you're going to make the handle look however you want. Next, I use a Dremel just to be a little bit fine-tuned, just so you don't accidentally nick the blade with the belt sander. At this point, you're going to sand the handle to your own preference. Just something to remember is that the finer you sand it, the more slick the handle is going to be. And then to finish it off, you can go ahead and use mineral oil. And that's just going to go ahead and it's going to bring the color out in the micarta. You can also use linseed oil if you want. Now I sanded this to about 800 grit, just so it looked nice in the video. However, I think if I make another one, I'll probably just go like 150 or just a little bit finer, just so it has a lot of grip. Here's the final product. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and came to realize that it's actually very simple and fairly inexpensive to make these handles. If you have any questions, please be sure to post them in the comments below, and I'm going to check these comments on a daily basis and answer any questions you may have. I'm also going to put a link to Amazon so you can get these blade blanks. For the price, you really can't beat them since they're high carbon steel. If you like this video, please be sure to subscribe. You can do that by hitting the subscribe button below, and make sure you hit that thumbs up button because every thumbs up helps this video get more views. Like always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.